Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you have had a good day so far. Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you have had a good day so far. It's Charles here, and we're going to chat today's webinar. We're going to chat on how to leverage or insert or use SketchUp's warehouse or the 3D warehouse content for use in Revit uh, um, in interior design and in general. Right, so let's the agenda for today is we're just going to introduce the topic and just discuss what the 3D warehouse is and the idea behind it. We'll look at a couple of importing methods, um, and then how to manipulate the materials, some benefits, and then we're going to go and conclude and see uh, um, you know uh, the benefits of this workflow. All right, so what is the 3D warehouse? It's basically a website that there's lots of history to it, meaning that Google initiated the SketchUp product, and with that there was a library that was created. People could upload their models for free, and the users could download those, and it grew and grew and grew. Google then sold SketchUp, the technology, to Trimble, and the warehouse is still going. It's now basically the Trimble 3D warehouse, and there's lots of content. It's obviously free, and you can obviously use that if you have a product called SketchUp, but we're obviously looking at in context of Revit. All right, so just to kind of look at the 3D warehouse, I'm just going to open, just to show you the idea, I'm just going to open my browser. Right, so I'll just go and say 3D warehouse, and then go into that area. Right, so that's basically the 3D warehouse. You'll see a front page of commonly downloaded content. You'll see there are manufacturers that are here as well. If you scroll down, etc., etc. So if you search at the top here, say for instance, I'll search for chair, and I'll go into looking at that. You'll see multiple objects. Obviously it's a generalized thing, chair, but you'll see, there's multiple items. Right, now, obviously you kind of want to do a more specific thing, but obviously you can go through this as well. Obviously also you need to log in and register, etc. Then also you'll see there's 1,000+ items found. So basically, there's lots. You can filter on the left to narrow down the search to get specific things. You also can go through to the models, specifically 3D models, collection of content, and then there's a catalogs area. More kind of a manufacturer-based item where certain manufacturers have a couple of components that are very similar, also belonging to chair, that you can go and download. All right, okay, so basically what I've done is I've just downloaded two pieces of content. I'll just want to go to the the door that I looked at. It's just a link that I basically searched for door. I downloaded one. Alright, now basically this is a configurable item, so it's quite complex. If you click on, obviously you can just download it as is, but if you've got a specific size object, sliding door or whatever, you click on configure, and then you go and right, it's just loading the content. Alright, so there's the I'll just pan it this way, and there's a cool little tool that you can put shadows on and that sort of thing. Right, but on the left here you can obviously you can turn it around, but here on the left you've got the different millimeters, etc. So you can say, no, I want that height to be 2.1 and maybe the width to be 2.5, and as you select or move the sliders, it will then update the content based on your input. There's lots of obviously colors and things and materials, and then you go click download and you download the content. Alright, so that's also one. The other one that I also downloaded, it was more a basic one. I think it was this guy, and what I then just did is I just selected download, and I downloaded the oldest of the content. It's just a habit, meaning that if you download the latest one, it might not be compatible perhaps with your version of Revit, for instance. So I kind of just go to the oldest one, go and downloaded that, and I placed it in my obviously these are SKP files or Sketchup files, and they then I've placed it in my library, as you can see here. Alright, so there's my little library. It's just the models. There's the door and the SketchUp model. Alright, okay, so that's just explaining a little bit about the SketchUp warehouse, and how we can just download simple components. Alright, so if I now continue looking at the different importing methods related to Revit specifically, there's kind of two main options that I kind of find. There might be more, but I'm just going to focus on these two. Option one would be to import the component directly into Revit's project environment, and so you just in your project you click import, and you import I'll show you now. Import the content. It works well for kind of freestanding objects, like if you look at that chair, interior designers, that sort of just a component that you place and you carry on. For interior design, that works well. However, it's obviously a component that's brought in, as is, so it doesn't kind of appear in schedules if you want to do scheduling or bill of materials later on. So there's a little bit of a con. The benefit is very easy, but it's a little bit of you want to kind of have how many chairs you've got in the project, that sort of thing, at the end of the day. Right. So I'll show you the option one. Let's do that. So I'll again just go to Revit. Okay, so this is just the finished product. So I just wanted to show you. There's the finished project, but I'll kind of close that and just open up the original. It's just simple 4 walls and those two components. Let me just delete them. Alright, so if I now go and let me just go to shaded something. If I go to insert and I go to import CAD, and I'll go to the models. Here you just change it to SketchUp, and you have those models. Now I'll just use the chair. It's the one that I've earlier imported. Right, and it's then imported on the origin. So I'll just kind of move it out just to give you a more of a idea of what it is. Right, so there's the simple component. It's just placed. Obviously you can move it around and that sort of thing. Alright, as I mentioned, it's not a specific component, like it's not a piece of furniture, it's just an imported item, so it hasn't been categorized. Right, so that's the one option, looking at our setup. Alright, so it's basically just importing the content, placing it. Obviously you can move it about, that sort of thing. Copy it, obviously rotate it, scale it, that sort of thing. Right, then option 2 is what I want to actually focus on. I believe that's the better option. It's actually to open up a family, empty family file, be it in this case maybe a furniture family, and then import it into that. Obviously the benefits are that component is a family now, so you can schedule it, meaning you can see how many chairs there are, so they appear in schedules. That's great. And you can also add symbolic lines into that family environment, for plans, section or elevations. You can also have different level of detail based items, meaning that if it's coarse mode or low level of detail, it can just be a very simple looking chair, and if it's in fine mode or high level of detail, it could be very complex with all the nuts and bolts sort of thing. Alright, so you can manipulate the level of detail within the family as well. Then just one thing that I'll show you as well, you can also have hosted elements, meaning that if you open a door family, you can create an opening inside that host or wall, and then insert the component in there. Now I'll show you both options with the chair and the door, and then you can, because it's a door family that's hosted, you can place it in your project as a normal kind of door that opens up an area to place the component. Right, I'll show you a little bit of. So there's lots of benefits with option 2, using the family environment. All right, good. So let me show you. I'll just move my project back here. All right. So obviously we're in the project environment. Now I'll talk about the door and the difference. Right. So I'll go File, New Family. So it's basically creating or opening up a family item. Now here's where you can categorize your component, be it a piece of furniture, or in this case we want to do a door. Right. So it opens up the door family. It's kind of as per standard. I'll just change the scale a little bit, say 1 to 20 or so. Perhaps I'll remove these frames, and what I'll also do is just select the little opening there, or even just look at the family types and just change the I think I had mine at 2.5 at the height, 2.1 when I downloaded that configurable item, and the width I had it at 2.5 if I can remember correctly. Alright, so I'll create this opening for this particular door type, and I then go and say let's insert the CAD item. Right, so insert CAD item. It's the the door SketchUp model. Right, now it's inserted in the middle, so it kind of looks awesome that it just inserted there, but I'll obviously just unpin it and just move it with the arrow keys. Just I can align it as well. So yeah, there's the 2.5, I remembered correctly, and it just places it in the component. Now one thing to remember, if you change the width here, it won't change the SketchUp little model. It will only change the opening. So be aware of that. When you bring in the component, you bring it in a certain size, and that's it. All right. Meaning that if you've got 2 or 3 sizes that this door can be, you'll have to just create 2 or 3 door families. Right, so it's not a train smash. Obviously, if there's 300 different sizes, then I would suggest rather create a Revit model rather than just kind of importing 1 or 2 sizes. All right. Okay, one thing to consider is that if you do have this model, obviously there's materials. We'll discuss that just now, but I just want to get this into our model. So I'll just save it as, I'll just go save it as family, and I'll just save it as web door or whatever, webinar door or whatever. Right, and then I'll load it into my project. Good. Alright, so there's the webinar door as selected. Obviously you can find it if you go to doors, because we started this family as a door item, and then as you place this in your model, your wall opens up, your host basically opens up, and the door is there. As opposed to imagine if you have if you insert it into this environment, just to give you the idea. If you just insert a model like we did with this chair into this environment, there it is. Alright, I'll just unpin it, move it out. Alright, so obviously the one on the left is via the door option 2, and the one on the right is option 1. Now if I move this into the wall, there's the wall doesn't know of the door. I've just undone, so you'll have to create an opening in the wall, and then pull the door in there. And if you move something, you need to move the opening as well as the door. Obviously you've got those tools under wall opening, that you can create the opening, but it's just hard work, rather than using kind of option 2, opening the family, make sure the opening's correct, inserting the item and importing it. Obviously the future benefits would be it appears in schedules, etc. Alright, good. Okay, so that's option 2 on the left and option 1 on the right. For standalone objects, option 1 is great, like the chairs and furniture and that sort of thing, but perhaps option 2 is better for hosted items, but also freestanding objects because of the ability to be scheduled, etc. Alright, so that's basically the 2 options that that's normally familiar. There might be others, as I mentioned, with regards to including AutoCAD as a workflow item, other objects like other apps as well, but for now I've just focused on these 2. Alright, so now I want to look at the materials, because that's a big thing, obviously. So how Revit works with the SketchUp materials is it looks at the naming, obviously, of those materials in SketchUp, and it brings it in as a material within Revit. As you can see here, and I'll show you as well, you've got a couple of oddly named materials. Now those came from both the chair and the door in this case, so you need to kind of figure out which is which, and it could be problematic if you insert 10 SketchUp items and then trying to figure out which is which. So when you look at materials, do it at the point of inserting one SketchUp item. Set up the materials and then go over to the second item that you want to insert. Right, if you're doing it using if I talk about option 1, option 2 is also easier because you in an external environment in the family area, so that helps. You typically would only insert one item within that family, then you've only got the one set of information of the one chair or whatever. Right, so let's go through that those motions and just show you what I mean with that and how we can change it. Right, so I'll also show you a little bit of a trick within the materials browser in Revit, and then one thing to also remember is to make sure your names are unique. For instance, if I look at the chair, you might have 2 or 3 components here. Maybe the chair material, which is where you sit on, that might be something like call it say the chair material of SketchUp chair. So it's a unique name. That it's not going to be repeated in a project environment, that sort of thing. Or if you're doing the glass of the door, say it's the glass of the sliding door, the SketchUp sliding door, that sort of thing, or the 3D warehouse sliding door. All right. As I mentioned, it is quite a manual process. So if this component's got 10 different materials, you'll have to kind of just rename 10 components. You don't have to rename it, but that's what I suggest, because then then you can later on change it more easily than just oddly named things like one auto, that sort of thing. All right. Okay, so let me show you in the Revit environment. I am working with Revit 2023. It's just been released, so there is a little bit of inconsistencies with the materials, but I'll with regards to 2022 is already sorted out with service packs and everything. So because of 2023 being a little bit new, I have seen that there is a little bit of the materials needing to be updated or in the long run. Okay, but anyway, let's see how we do that. Right, so I'm just going to open up a new project. Excuse me. Because now we've inserted these items. The materials are there, but it doesn't matter. Let me just go new family, and I'll go now and say furniture. So I'm using option 2 in this environment, meaning I'm opening a family and then I'm inserting the particular component in here. Import CAD. I'll use the chair. Just loading. There we go. I'm not going to move it about. I'll just use it like that. And then I will say, okay, go manage materials. Alright, so I'm in the family environment. I'll go manage materials. Now in here, you'll see obviously lots of materials. Luckily, it's not as long as perhaps in the project environment. In the project environment, you've got bricks, you've got floors, and you've got roof material and everything in here. But here's just a shortish list. So there are different layers and things, materials that you can see that kind of doesn't belong. But to the trick that I want to show you is here at the top you have a search option. Now the particular SketchUp materials, if I click on that number 1 and I go to identify, it's got a class called SKP, where normal Revit materials does not. If I look at that black steel material, it's also got a SKP. So a very cool search option and trick is just to search for SKP, and as you search for materials that's got SKP in its kind of makeup, you'll see these are the 3 components that are SketchUp based. Alright, so looking at my items here, I'll just OK that for now. I haven't changed anything. Just going to change that to shaded, so I just see the coloring, and I'll go to SKP again. Alright, okay, so these are the 3 materials. Alright, from these little lists, I can see that that one is perhaps the legs. The black steel is basically the no. It might not be as easy to define these colors. So what I typically suggest you do is go to that first one, leave the description as is, and then the name, you go and say something like chair legs, or imported SketchUp. So remember, or 3D warehouse chair leg. Keep it unique, and then it's easier to change and find in your project environment. Right, so there we go. I've changed that name. I'll go to the graphics. The graphics, I'll just say use the render appearance, and then if I go to the render appearance, there's the coloring that I could adjust. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just simply just make it a little bit darker, and I'll say OK, and I'll apply. Then you'll see that the legs here do go a little bit darker. Alright, so that works well. I'll just say, alright, now I'll go to the next one. I'll go to the black steel. I'll go to identifier. I'll leave black steel as a description. That's usually just to reference later on, that you can go back to. Imported Skeeter warehouse. I'll just say seat material or whatever. Alright, I'll just click elsewhere, go to the graphics, use the render appearance, and then when I go to the appearance, there's the little item, the coloring here. I can just maybe change to maybe like a pinkish red or whatever. Alright, I'll just kind of do it like blood red, thereabouts, and I'll click apply, and I can see the change happening here. Alright, there's another little layer there. I believe that that might be something else, but which I don't see. Also note that if I look at that escape P, if I that layer 0, that's basically perhaps the layer that just kind of came in, or that's the material that's kind of a standard material that isn't used in this model perhaps. So I'll just kind of leave it as is. There might be something else in there. Right. Okay, so I've named that nicely, and then I'll now say let's save this family. I'll call this where's my chair or something, and then just load it into the project. Now what comes in is the chair geometry as well as the material. So if I do place it here, it's the one on the left. If you can, right. So if I do place it there, obviously this is now a component. It'll be schedulable, and I think I have a little schedule somewhere. No, I haven't, but I'll wait. Let me just see. No, I've got. Right. So I'll show you about the scheduling, and then when I go to the materials, I'll go manage materials. You'll see that those two imported chair leg and seat material are available for me to adjust, as opposed to a one and that. Those come from the original items that was there, so you can already see the benefit over here. Alright, so meaning that you can change those seat materials, and it might update in your model. Alright, okay, let me just right, so there's the seat material. If I go and there's imported, there's the graphics. Yeah, alright, if I do change that, I don't think it'll change now, but let's see. Just change it to blue, apply, and that's now in the family environment. I've changed the unique material that came from the in the project environment. I changed the unique material that came in from the family environment, and in so doing I've changed the chair's seat material. Right, so that works well. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Going back to our content, let's just minimize this. Another thing that I just want to also discuss, but I'll do that just now. Alright, so we can find the materials with the little searching of the Sketchup. Make sure that the naming is unique. Typically, if you're using option 2, which is the better option, it might be easier to define the materials because there's just a couple, and then it is a manual process, but it's quickly done, and that's done. Right. So just a couple of benefits. One benefit is you don't have to redraw the content. Obviously, you just take it from the 3D warehouse. You can add, if you're using it in the family environment, you can still do the level of detail, meaning it can be low, medium, or high level of detail, or coarse, medium, and fine. You can have symbolic lines and representing the component in plan differently, etc. And then also you can schedule. Now I just want to show the little bit of scheduling. So I'm just going to go view schedules, and I'm going to go and do a furniture schedule. There we go, and I'll just say count, family, and type. Alright, move that up. Alright, so just those two. Obviously it'll only include one item, because that's the web chair. If I go back to my 3D view, that object was imported as option 1. So inside the so it's not a piece of furniture, it's just an imported item, which is a little bit odd. Right, so this blue one was option 2, so it knows it's a family, it's a chair, it's categorized as a furniture, and it then belongs and gets placed in a furniture schedule, which is what we kind of want. Alright, okay, so that was just additional benefit, as I explained earlier. And yeah, so what we do have, the main thing is you don't have to redraw, right? Because that's typically where time is spent. Obviously you've got benefits like the scheduling, and that as well. Changing materials are quite good. You don't have to create parameters, material parameters within Revit families like normal, but so the materials are quite easy to change. All right. So in conclusion, I think if you know the constraints that you work within, it will save you a lot of time, because you don't have to redraw, etc. And again, try and use option 2, meaning open up a furniture family, insert it in there, set up the family, make sure the materials, etc. is right, and then bring it in to Revit. Right, so basically that is that concludes the webinar. If you've got any questions, you're welcome to email me. My address is there, or go to our website, mgfx.co.za, and just fill in a form to find me. All right. Okay. So thank you for attending. I'm going to stop the webinar now, and again, you're welcome to send me some comments, or if you perhaps have another workflow that works well, let me know, and I can include it into another webinar, for instance. All right, thank you very much. Hope you have a great day further, and I'll see you